What's going on, people? Welcome to the podcast. I am the podcast host. Francesca Fiorentini, what is up? I hope you're good. I hope you are feeling good. Hope you're staying cool. I had a little jaunt outside of Swamp Ass Central in Los Angeles. Went up to the Pacific Northwest where climate change is smiling upon the region. It was a good trip, a sad trip. My dad is not doing well, but still got to meet his granddaughter for the first time, so that was very sweet. And I'm excited to be back. We missed the bonus bish, people. For those of you who don't know, this show has a bonus episode every Friday. Streams for everyone, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. But if you want to watch it back, if you want to listen to it back, if you want to, at your own leisure, watch it, and if you want to support this show, you just become a patron at patreon.com/Bitchuation room. It's soups easy. And it, other than all of the fossil fuel money that I take, which is a lot, it's you who supports this show. It's it, period, punto. There is nothing else. And even with my partnership with the American Prospect, no money exchanges hands. Instead, it is all just, the barter economy we wish to see in the world. And the American Prospect is what you get actually when you become a patron. You get special discounts on the paperback version. Paperback version? Why can't I talk about print media? Fail to talk about. Anyway. Y'all know that I contribute regularly to the American Prospect, so there's lots of perks, including discounts on merch, including supporting this show. So do that. You can also subscribe to this show or become a member on YouTube and also on Twitch, and you can do all the watchbacks you need to do there. So I'm really excited because we have, I think, back for the whole show. I think he won't abandon me in my hour of need. I think Nato Green, comedian and labor organizer, is here with me for the hour. And that's it. So if he leaves, I don't know what to do. No say. That would be it. But he's going to join me in a few, and we're going to talk about Ron DeSantis. Just, we had some hopes. He was the sensible Republican, arguably worse, but, he was going to get the fascism done. And it turns out his campaign is imploding, and some new polling out reveals just how badly he is losing to Donald Trump. We're going to talk about Donald Trump a little bit. New indictments coming down any moment, maybe right now as I speak. If you're listening in the future, does that happen? If you're listening in the future, what about our next story? Aliens. Turns out those whistleblowers, they seem kind of credible. I feel like, there's testimonies. We're going to talk about the testimony that these whistleblowers, former intelligence officials and a naval pilot gave to the House recently. And anyway, we'll get into all that, and I want your thoughts as well about what you think about all of these unidentified phenomena. And then PragerU, little Mr. Dennis Prager, little Mr. Never Made Her Come, has announced that actually he has a new contract with the Department of Education in Florida. The same guys who were just recently have decided that slavery was a good thing for Black people. Well, they're enlisting PragerU, which is Dennis Prager's little fake educational outlet, to help them with their curriculum for young people. So we'll get into what they are teaching about slavery and formerly enslaved people. Very exciting. So that is our final story, and then we'll get into what the rich are doing and how they're trying to escape Earth. The point is there's a lot coming up, guys. So stop right now. Give this podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening to it. Write a little sweet review. If you can't think of anything, I don't know, your favorite poem. All right. What's that Tom Stoppard one? Like, stopping by a podcast on a winter evening. I forgot how it goes exactly. But that's what you're doing right now. Also, you can tip the show TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App. And with that, I think I'm going to bring in him for this portion of the show because he might have a lot of good stuff to say. And if he doesn't, I'll just take him out of the stream, to be honest with you. But this is What Are You Bitching About? Let's bring Nato Green on into the stream. Nato, how are you?
Amazing. Tom Stoppard, not a poet.
What was he? Just an author?
No, playwright.
Oh.
Most famous for Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Oh, right. Who's the one who did the snowy evening, stopping by on a snowy evening?
Is that Robert Frost?
Yeah, Robert Frost.
Am I just going Frost, snow?
No, I don't know. See, it's been a long time. Yeah. See, none of people want me to do like a tour of the books behind me. None of them are. Actually, there's some Garcia Marquez. I think he's a poet. No,
not a poet. Also not a poet. Lorca's a poet.
I think there's some Lorca. Lorca. That's what I meant. I couldn't because there's both Garcias, and I'm racist.
Do you have any Horgus-Borgus? Or people, native Spanish speakers love it when you pronounce Jorge Luis Borges as Horgus-Borgus.
Yeah, well, that's because they pronounce Mariah Carey Maria Carey, and I was like, who? I'm sorry, what? Maria Carey. Like, who? Maria Carey. I was like, oh my god, that's hilarious.
Do you please tell me you do this? Refer to Antonio Banderas as Tony Flags?
Hey, what up, Tony Flags? Welcome. Hey, that's first of all, that's the founder of Six Flags. Is Tony Flags? Yeah. Yeah. Nato, I'm gonna share with you what I'm bitching about, and then we'll get in because I feel like when you start, we just go off, and it's like something about your kids or something about your like private workout routine, and I don't care.
I have a relatively concise bitch today.
Oh, okay, you can start then.
Okay. So I'm in Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Oh God, here we go. Well, anyway, first world problems. I'm in Cape Cod.
Massachusetts, and I'm not trying to say that the white people here are underdone, but I'm an LA 2 and a San Francisco 4 and a Cape Cod 8. You know what I'm saying? So I went to the movies to see Oppenheimer.
Not even a 10. Where are you at 10?
Yeah, nowhere. No, I'm nowhere a 10. Maybe like the Burn
YouTube, unit. Baby, you're in it. You're right here.
So we went to see Oppenheimer, sold out show, 1 o'clock showing, packed movie theater, 1 o'clock showing. I get there at 12:45, take my seats. The movie has already started. And the whole theater is just sitting there quietly watching the movie. And it took me a minute being like, it seems like the movie already started. Am I crazy or is something wrong? And so Cape Cod, it's seasonal. It's like there's a summertime economy and that's it. And so like the movie theater is run by a bunch of, 17-year-olds doing summer jobs. And so like I went to be like, hey kids, the movie started early. Yeah. And they fixed it. Then they stopped it, brought the lights up, restarted the whole thing at 1 o'clock. It was fine.
What's really funny? I like how the old people were just like they just had to sit there, interrupted their pre-movie nap.
It's like this is a movie, and I say that it was Cape Cod just to be clear that it's a room full of white people who are famously supposed to bring "I will speak to your manager" energy to every situation, and yet here is a moment where The 1 o'clock movie starts at 12:45, and nobody's like, "Excuse me, someone made a mistake. Please
No,
fix
they
it."
had to get back to for their afternoon nap. Like they were chill about it.
Right.
That's really funny. They're undercooked. They're just tired. Isn't that what retirement is about?
It's not just
Or vacation.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they're too
So they
full
need.
on stuffed quahogs.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever that is. Yeah. That's a Robert Frost specialty. So you're mad they're undercooked because like the essence of whiteness needs more Karenicity.
That's I'm mad that here it was there was a movie about like how people can go along with authority figures to do horrible things.
And here they are.
And here
allowing
they are
a 17-year-old
embodying the themes of the movie in their consumption of the movie.
Did you get up and tell them that?
I was like, everyone, I have an announcement.
People.
Suddenly I was like the team captain. And so that I was like, it didn't make me feel better because then when they stopped the movie and the lights came on, I could hear people in the room being like, "Yeah, I thought that was really weird that was happening. It seemed like that wasn't supposed to happen." So then I had to get up and be like, "Silence equals death, sheeple." You know.
I feel like there weren't enough Jews in the audience. Like that's
exactly. There weren't. Yeah. It's real slim on the Shecky Town over here.
Real NPR energy. Like it's weird we're in a gulag because I thought we were going to a summer camp. Anyway, I just feel like I agree with you. Sometimes people do need to speak up.
I wonder what Nina Temple Raston has to say about when Oppenheimer starts.
It's Dina, but thank you. Let's move into what I'm bitching about because it is not as fun.
Okay.
So there was this article that went kind of, I don't know, viral. There was videos associated with it. Came out from the New York Times recently called "Fighting for Anthony: The Struggle to Save Portland, Oregon." And sort of the tagline is, or the header is, "The city has long grappled with street homelessness and a shortage of housing. Now, fentanyl has turned a perennial problem into a deadly crisis and a challenge to the city's progressive identity."
Oh, I saw this headline and I was like, I need to come back and hate read this later.
Exactly. So the most annoying part about the article isn't obvious. Well, we'll get into what it's annoying, but the title of like like struggling for or fighting for Anthony. Now, Anthony Saldana is this person who they highlight who was convinced to move to Portland by his sister. He goes there, he moves, he never quite finds his footing, even though he has a job at Home Depot. He's not able to keep his apartment. And I'm like, hang on right there. So when you move past the whole part that the guy had an actual job and wasn't able to afford rent, that's like, oops. And now we're going in the different direction. Instead, the article basically targets the measure 110, which was a measure that decriminalized in some aspects opioids. So you get like $100 fine if you have a small amount of meth or fentanyl on you, and you get like a pamphlet about addiction treatment. And then there was supposed to be a lot of money dedicated to those addiction treatment services rolling out in the city. It's only been in effect for like a year and a half. But then the article is basically like, even though it was slow to roll out, residents have seen that overdoses are increasing and tent cities are growing, and has this whole thing failed and in fact, lo and behold, this summer in June, city council in Portland just criminalized camping from apparently during the day. You can camp at night, but not during the day. So like, this article is so infuriating. There's no assessment of like, hey, what about actually legalizing and treating people with drugs? What about actually cracking down by regulating things like fentanyl? And this is the thing, is like, so the whole article is just about this one guy, and he did pass away. He died. It is very sad, but it serves nothing but a, again, neoliberal pro-police agenda that these articles constantly do when they give an attempt at decriminalization, a year and a half, slow rollout by their own admission, taking no aim at the housing market, taking no aim at anyone else, at drug policies federally. And then it's like, well, I guess we need to criminalize camping again because that's the solution. Or I guess we need to lock up the fentanyl users because that's the solution. I don't understand this.
We've tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas.
Yeah, we're all out of ideas, so lock them all up because then we don't have to see it. And then we don't have to see the overdosing. So I guess what's the most frustrating, we had talked about this before on a previous episode of the Bitchuation Room with Paige. Please remind me of her name. But, about the fentanyl crisis and how it's a fucking killer. It's a murderer that has been created in part thanks to the DEA cracking down on over-the-counter opioids, or not over-the-counter, but like prescription opioids, like Oxycontin, and cracking down on doctors who are overprescribing it, which is great, and holding Sacklers accountable minimally. That's great. But people are still addicted. So they're going to go to street drugs, and so they're going to fentanyl. So what the fuck are we doing about fentanyl that isn't like, oh yeah, build a massive wall on the border? Because guess what? The shit is being cut horribly in the United States. It's not being cut in Mexico. The fentanyl's being shipped into this country through Mexico, which, by the way, Nato, did you know that when you are in labor, there is only one drug that they offer you to get through labor? And that's fucking fentanyl. Hospitals give out fentanyl on the reg for a drug that they're like, we've never seen anything. You see it all the time. Of course you know what fentanyl is. If fentanyl, just like it is in hospitals when you give it to pregnant women and people who are in labor, if it were regulated, if we knew what the dosages were, do you think we would see the kind of overdosing that we're seeing in the streets of Portland? No. So, anyway.
I mean, it's interesting because the conversation about, the like post Black Lives Matter backlash, we're in the middle of it, in full force. And in San Francisco also, like, there's a big push around like, let's arrest drug users now, not just drug dealers. And this idea about compulsory treatment. And so you will recall we've had on the Bitchuation Room San Francisco reporter Joe Eskenazi of Mission Local.
Yeah.
And last week Mission Local did a great article. SF says drug users turn down services, but what's on offer? And they actually dug into like, what are the services that are provided? And it turns out, like, most addicts, like, being addicted to fentanyl is no one's plan A. Like,
right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so a whole series of other shit has gone wrong if, like, when that's what they're doing, like, if they end up there. And most people who are addicted would rather not be addicted and would rather have access to some kind of services. And the services that we offer aren't even close to meeting the need. Like in San Francisco, like, we have data about how many people are currently accessing services for drug treatment. And it's all the available services are full. The data we don't have is how many people would accept drug treatment if it was offered to them. Like, we just know that there's, so this huge number of people, like, and so then there's also this conflation of addiction and tent encampments.
Yes.
And, like, there's some amount of overlap, obviously, between homelessness, addiction, and mental illness, but it's not all the same thing. And by the way, like, if you're homeless, it's much easier to get addicted because, like, what the fuck else is going on?
Yes.
And it sucks.
Yes. And I'm not doing a service to our former guest, but Maya Slalovitz, who came on, and I'm butchering her name again. Maya was wonderful. Everyone should check that episode out. But we've also spoken about how homelessness leads to addiction, like that, and homelessness leads to mental illness, that, like, being unhoused, like, makes you feel crazy and makes you feel like you're exposed to everything and to all kinds of harm and violence. But the other thing about, like, you're talking about, like, treatment, that's one thing. The other thing, and we're never going to get this in this country, because when fucking Biden has clean needles in some kind of, harm reduction pack that was sent out because of the pandemic, the right goes crazy. And what does Biden do? They rescind it. They take it away. They get rid of the needles because they were saying they were crack pipes when they weren't. And you're just like, but what we actually need is harm reduction. We need to have, we should have like regulated doses of people who are addicted to opioids. Why? Because they won't die. That's why. If you want to save lives, if you care about the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of overdoses, if that's what you really care about, if you care about the streets being clean and blah, 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 blah bullshit, that I can't help you with. That's some whatever. That's some NIMBY bullshit. If you care about people living, then you need to regulate and legalize drugs, including opioids. So anyway, yeah, there was more addiction when there was more Oxycontin prescribed, but were there more overdoses? Debatable. I mean, I think, Maya would say no. So anyway, it's just bullshit. It's all just fear mongering again. And it's very annoying that instead of going in the like, why couldn't this person afford to stay indoors after working at Home Depot? Why couldn't he find his footing? Does it have anything to do with skyrocketing rents in Portland? Unaffordability, lack of housing? Anywho, that TBC for much more discussion. But thank you, Nato, for bringing that in. That's what I'm bitching about. Let's get into a little bit more. Let's switch it up. 3 main stories. We got DeSantis, we got Trump, we got aliens, we got PragerU. This is the week where. Okay, so this was the week where Donald Trump's campaign is in trouble, but somehow still crushing it. How is that possible? Let's take a look. But first, you have to know that Trump's PAC, Save America, it started the year off with like $105 million. Now it has $4 million left. Why? Because all of the money is going to Trump's legal fees. And right now, we're currently waiting for Jack Smith to indict Trump for a 3rd time, this time related to the, peaceful tourist tour of the Capitol, whatever, like on January 6th. So at any moment now, he's going to announce those charges, again, related to that very calm and orderly sightseeing adventure where just the people like to go through the windows instead of the doors. Sometimes people like to do things different, and that's important to remember. No judgment. I'm not kink shaming people who want to break windows and go through them.
Look, sometimes people need to just attempt to subvert a democracy and trample someone to death who's literally wearing a "Don't tread on me" t-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. Back the blue while I stab the blue in the back.
Yeah.
So that's coming down the pike, and their money troubles are getting real bad. And yet, Nato, Newt polling in, Trump's just trouncing the opposition. So all other Republican candidates, DeSantis, Pence, Scott, Haley, Ramaswamy, and Christie, of course, Pence, Scott, Haley, Ramaswamy are between 3 and 2 points.
Wait, hang on. Who the fuck is Ramaswamy? I missed this person.
He is, I don't know much about him, but he's like another like model minority South Asian libertarian dude.
Okay, but man, that's gotta hurt. Chris Christie coming in behind Ramaswamy. Chris Christie, who actually ran for president and was a governor, is pulling up the rear.
So he's from yeah, that sucks. But he's a biotech dude. He is worth $630 million or something like this. Vivek Ramaswamy is his name. But yeah, so here we have it. Pence very less, and DeSantis 17 points to Donald Trump's 54% in terms of how many Republicans would likely vote for him. If the presidential nominee were held today, and this is according to a New York Times Siena College poll, Which candidate would you be most likely to vote for? 54% says Trump. 17% said DeSantis. Oh, now who wants Trump? Everybody who is racist. Every single demographic group and region in every ideological wing of the party, as the survey found, Republican voters waved away concerns about his escalating legal jeopardy. He led by wide margins among men and women, younger and older voters, moderates and conservatives, those who went to college and those who didn't, in cities, suburbs, and rural areas. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like when Trump several years ago said that he could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue without losing any support, he may have underestimated his level of support.
Okay, this time he's gonna be like, I could mow down all of you right now, every single one of you.
I could bungle the response to a pandemic so that 1.5 million Americans die.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. That's not as exciting as him being like, I could behead your child right here on stage. But yeah, he definitely has blood on his hands. I mean, he should claim that, honestly.
Yep.
And if you just take out everybody else, one-on-one, DeSantis if he's in a hypothetical one-on-one race, he would still lose by a 2-to-1 margin, 62% to 31%, the poll found. And of course, as we mentioned, it doesn't matter that Trump is going to be indicted for a third time. He still would receive a 22%. He still receives 22% among voters who believe he has committed serious federal crimes. So 22% who believe he is, I mean, I guess that's not terrible. But even of the people who believe that he's committed serious federal crimes, over 20% say, yeah, I'd vote for him. A greater share than the entire 17% that Mr. DeSantis earned from the entire GOP electorate. Oh boy. So it's no wonder DeSantis is basically like, he is laying off campaign staff left and right, and also doing these like bizarre Hail Marys, like being like, RFK Jr. could be the health secretary.
There was a long opinion piece in the Guardian by Sidney Blumenthal and about DeSantis that had this line. I want to read it to you. He described DeSantis as the non-viable alternative, a void who occupies unmovable political space. That's fucking unmovable. That like basically part of the argument is that like DeSantis is the one anointed to like lose for all of the rest of the other Republicans. He's like that everyone else is stuck, and so DeSantis is the one showing whose like position is to show that it's not a fractured race. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I just think it's funny that he called him a void. Called him a void.
I mean, to be fair to Donald Trump, he saved the Republican Party. Like, I'm sorry, we had 8 years of fucking Bush, and they were running all those goons in 2015 and 16, and he saved them. He gave them new life. They got to appoint 3 new fucking Supreme Court justices thanks to that dumbass. He's the best thing that ever happened to them. The outsider, this and that. And now, what do they got? Fucking nobody. They still do have establishment assholes. And they all, even their crazy base, which again, back to Bernie would have won, but they like their outsiders. And Trump is absolutely an outsider, even though he's going to be inside of a prison cell. Probably.
It's such a conundrum because like for so many years we were afraid that like we would have Trump and that Trump like was so gross that he unified the opposition and also was so inept that he didn't execute that much. Like he could, it's like so much of what he did was through the management of the administrative state, and then Biden came in and just like did 50 executive orders in day one and reversed all of it. And so it's like the fear was always that there was a more competent fascist waiting in the wings. And, DeSantis has been effectively managing the apparatus of Florida government in the service, arguably, of a more competent fascism. And so it's like, does it make me feel better that the Republican voter base prefers incompetent fascism to competent fascism? That when given a choice of the more competent fascism of Ron DeSantis, they're like, no, we want the dummy.
You know what it actually tells me is a little bit something a little bit different, which is that DeSantis actually doesn't have the populist veneer that Donald Trump has. And guess what? People don't give a fuck about trans bathrooms and athletes or whatever, bathroom bills and all that bullshit. They don't care about stopping woke. They don't care about rewriting American history. They really don't care about any of that stuff. It's fun, I guess, is like a distraction, but they're not into that culture war bullshit. DeSantis is playing some old stale hits. They want that faux populism. They want their Mussolini shit. Yeah, if it comes along with the, anti-gay, anti-black, stuff, but like Trump had enough of that for them. And all they really cared about was being anti-immigrant and anti-black. And he had all of that. So it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's also further proof that the niche culture war shit that is having really real effects on real people, I don't think actually plays to people's basic interests and on a broader level.
Yeah, I mean, I think my understanding is that the polling bears that out. That the like drag show and the all the anti-woke critical race theory.
Yeah.
There's not a winning political strategy for the Republicans.
Yep.
So I mean, but like, I mean, it's still that it's not just and that with all of that, it's still neck and neck with Biden. It's horrifying.
So this is the last piece of this is that from the same poll, this CNN New York Times poll, Biden and Trump are tied at 43% apiece in a hypothetical rematch in 2024. I mean, it's like, what? NATO, we deserve this. Like, honestly, our country is trash. We fucking deserve these two, like, geriatric, yelly boomers. We deserve them. And yeah, running Biden is incredibly scary. But also, if it's like one, I think he's stronger than Trump at this point, especially with all of the indictments that are going to come down on Trump. And I think that turns people off. And Biden's milquetoast, middle of the road BS, it attracts at least whatever, fake swing state, imaginary swing state swing voters. However, the biggest problem is our young people and all of the people that, women, people of color, all the people the Democratic Party supposedly say they love, that they haven't necessarily delivered for. Look, the student debt relief, very good, very important to circumvent the Supreme Court on that. And we will see how all that plays out. So, but Biden better start dancing on fucking TikTok now. NATO knows that. He knows how to get fame on social medias.
Not so really. Somebody was trying to tell me to go on TikTok, and I was like, no, nobody needs to hear an old man on TikTok.
TikTok loves the olds, by the way. TikTok loves old people. Oh yeah. But like, you're not old enough. You gotta wait. You gotta wait like 30 and you're gonna be good.
I gotta get my dad to go on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I mean, there were just a couple of, like Robert Reich did an article and Paul Krugman did an article, and there was another one about how, like, the miracle of Bidenomics, and how successful the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act have been.
Yep.
At stimulating the economy, and that, like, the sort of, the news about, how Biden is doing is just, like, not borne out by, like, the economic news is actually pretty good.
Yes.
And that is like, I mean, Robert Reich is like, Biden's going to win, Democrats are going to retake the House and hold the Senate because the economic fundamentals are too strong.
I like that. If Robert says it, if Robert draws it out in a little picture, I buy it. But yeah, isn't it something like there's more people employed now than in the last like 50 years or something like this? Like,
yeah, and that inflation has come down, and so like real wages relative to purchasing power are growing. You know, so people are doing better relatively. I mean, it's what we knew, that letting 1.5 million people die tightens the labor supply.
I was just gonna say that, and I think it's super morbid but very true. Trump should just brag about that, you know. If there were all those other people vying for your jobs, who knows, you'd be paid a lot less. No, but it's very true. And a lot fewer Republican voters, even though here we go. So I think there's going to be a lot of people sitting this one out. Look, you know, Trump they would always talk about like, oh, the silent majority. There's a lot of silent majority of people who love Trump and who are going to vote for Trump. I think that was in some aspects true in 2016. And I also think now there is a silent majority of people who maybe won't openly critique Trump, but they'll vote for Joe Biden. They're fine with that. They'd rather not die.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
we gotta.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just want a couple comments because Nato introduced me to the word Riz. Speaking of a guy who apparently doesn't do social media but has kids.
I just hang out with teenagers who have teenagers hanging around my house.
Sea Prince Reborn Dragon says DeSantis has no Riz, and Orpheus Alcon one-upping that says Derizless.
My kids agree.
Yeah, that's great. And then it's socialism or barbarism on Twitch. There's a charisma threshold a GOP leader needs to meet, and DeSantis doesn't have it at all. It's true. Look at the GOP. You need a bastard. You need like a charismatic asshole, and they don't have one. It's true. No Riz there. All right, let's move on because this was also the week where it turns out Republicans are actually getting to work on one thing other than getting to the bottom of Hunter Biden's dick pics and all his pornographic images and trying to smoke the exact pipe that he smoked and sort of, you know, getting real method with it. They're also leading some hearings on UFOs or UAPs. They're trying to get to the bottom of something that apparently is more of a threat to Americans than gun violence, and that's aliens.
By the way, I spent probably 20 minutes trying to see if I could back my way from UAP into a wet ass pussy joke, but
oh no, I've got one.
Okay, good.
Because I was like, does Nato know what this is? Well, I like that it's not UFOs anymore. First of all, I like that we are wokeifying our language around like alien, like it's not green men anymore. Like even aliens don't want to be called aliens. Instead of like the legal aliens, you know, now it's like I feel like UAP is like the BIPOC of, you know, the moment. So it's UAP
it's the Latinx of
yeah, it's the Latinx of space. It's called is WAP. And I just like to imagine them going like, yeah, we've spotted a wet ass pussy, unlike anything we've ever seen. Very low, very wet, dripping, in fact.
Bring a bucket and a mop.
Yeah, we're gonna need a bucket and a mop we got a WAP on our tail. So I love this, and well, Nato and I will work on that bit. But so during the hearing, David Grush, who we talked about on the show, actually when Nato was last on, we talked about like what we would want, you know, to know or find out from aliens. This is getting a lot more real than that. In fact, this is quite chilling in some ways. But here's David Grush explaining that yes, there have been non-human remnants reclaimed from or taken from WAP aircraft.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Okay, so yeah, non-human biologics. In other words, alien life. The little, it's all very X-Files. I'm excited to sort of dig into this, but for those of you who don't know, I think the reason the Grush came forward, Ryan Graves, who is a former naval pilot, also has come forward and testified in this hearing, same hearing. The reason people are coming forward is apparently there's no way to report UAPs. So FAA has no mechanism for pilots to report them and instead directs them to civilian groups that are often dismissed as the domain of cranks and conspiracy theorists. Those institutional hurdles led Graves to form, this is the naval pilot, the first of its kind group that pushes for policy changes, serves as a hub for pilot whistleblowers, and advocates for more disclosure by the military. And that is called the Americans for Safe Aerospace. So that's his new organization. But this guy, Ryan Graves, was the one who reported a couple things. Basically, there's a WAP that looks like a Tic Tac, which is very funny because that's kind of like the clit of the WAP. Anyway, no. David Fravor, a former Navy commander, said he and 3 fellow military pilots spotted a white Tic Tac shaped object in 2004 hovering below their jets and just above the Pacific Ocean. As he descended to inspect the sighting, he claimed the unidentified aircraft, which he said bore no visible rotors, wings, or exhaust, began to ascend and approach his fighter jet. He claimed the WAP then vanished, only to reappear a few seconds later, but this time it was spotted 60 miles away. Damn. Now, according to David Grush, there are people in like DOD who are investigating this stuff and like who've recovered those kinds of non-human biologics or whatnot, but it goes above Congress's head. So he said the Defense Department efforts to analyze reporting WAP sightings and was informed of a multi-decade Pentagon program that endeavored to collect and reconstruct crashed WAPs. Asked by Representative Jared Moskowitz of Florida just how such a program is funded, Grush claimed that the effort is, quote, above congressional oversight and bankrolled by a misappropriation of funds. Does that mean there's money in the budget that is set to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes somewhere else? Moskowitz asked. Yes, I have specific knowledge of that, Grush said, though he did not provide more details, claiming the information remains classified.
I like that because it's like that plot device turns up in like in Independence Day and Transformers, where there's like the secret installation of like, and it's always like John Turturro or some like character actor who's brought in for one day of shooting to be like, like the government's always had this, but we never told you.
Yeah.
It's triple double classified.
It's oh my god, why am I blanking? Yeah, they're always coming in there and they're the comedic relief and they're like, wow, I've only studied this, and they're like the scientist that they're finally letting in, the civilian they're finally letting in on the secret, but because this civilian like started a Reddit or something that like is like gotten deeper than they've been able to go. And they've been following their work. But yeah, it's straight up X-Files shit. It's the stuff of movies. But here was a part, and this has to be couched in the fact that this dude who's asking him the question is Tim Burchett, who is the same, I believe he's a congressperson from Tennessee. He's the same guy who said we can't do anything about gun violence after the mass shooting in the school there. So take whatever he says with a grain of salt, but his line of questioning is particularly chilling. Here we go.
Have you faced any retaliation or reprisals for any of your testimony or anything on these lines?
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say in detail because there is an open whistleblower reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I don't want to compromise that investigation by providing anything that may help provide somebody information. But it was very brutal and very unfortunate, some of the tactics they used to hurt me both professionally and personally, to be quite frank. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. As they say, when you're over the target, that's when they do the most firing at you. Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would that you know of? or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Go, 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 go. I can't whistle right now.
I mean, I believe
Sorry.
that we are not,
I want to believe. Keep going.
that it seems plausible to me that we're not the
Uh-huh.
only intelligent life in the universe. And
No.
it seems plausible to me that other intelligent life forms were able to develop interstellar travel mechanisms. And it seems plausible to me that they would come to Earth and observe our society
Mhm.
and be like, nope.
You know, first of all, there's that great TikTok like where that woman is singing a song she wrote called Earth is Ghetto and I Want to Leave. If you haven't seen it, everyone look it up. Earth is Ghetto and I Want to Leave. And it's a great thing. But here's what I think. I don't think Earth is ghetto. I think Earth is beautiful. I think Earth is incredible. And I think if I were touring the galaxy, I would absolutely stop at fucking Earth. It's like, the Goldilocks spot it occupies from the sun. The water is incredible. Have you seen our orcas? They're crushing it.
Mhm.
Like, Earth is beautiful and amazing, okay? Don't get me all David Attenborough here. It's just we're destroying it. And so that's what I think is that them being like, oh, look at all that. What is that like hazy bullshit that's like hanging out on top of it? It is just the Simpsons aliens like looking at us being like, when do we take over? But I think they were like, can we use anything from here? Like, what is good? Or like, can anyone talk to us? Maybe they're trying to talk to us constantly and we just can't hear them. But of course, this whole thing is like, it's leading to,
It'd be funny if aliens were like approaching Earth, like my kids go thrifting. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they don't
totally.
they're not looking for our natural minerals. They're just looking for like one sitar, and they're like, you know what I mean? Just like one very specific and random thing.
No, I think they want like a red panda. You know what I mean? They like want
Right.
something cute. It's for their kid, their royalty on whatever planet they're on.
Yeah.
They just want that red panda.
I've been looking for this red panda, this one thing. Now my collection's complete.
Yo, you got like a Def Leppard tour shirt from like 87.
Right.
No, that's all. Well, here's the thing. Your kids are harmless when they go vintage shopping. And what if these aliens are
you should
harmless?
see Chloe's pants these days, but
not harm. No, but what if these aliens are harmless? Like, what if they're like, nah, yeah, we just want to say hi, what up? You know what I'm saying? Sup.
So
like, they just want to say sup. They don't want to take anything. They don't want to fight us. They just want to say what's up. But we're not. See, that's the other thing is like, here's what I will say. I kind of wish this had happened in 2020. Like, I wish. It sucks that there wasn't something that unified us. Like, that should have been the pandemic. But no. And I don't know. Maybe the aliens gave us COVID. Sorry, I'm just spitballing here. Now I'm just going.
I mean, I also like the idea. Like, I mean, this turns up occasionally in plots, and also like, in like that aliens are coming here, but like they don't want to talk to the West. You know what I mean? That like that the person they want to talk to is like, like the Bolivian indigenous lady with the bowler hat on.
Totally.
And they're like, yeah, we think she's just the leader of your planet.
But we wouldn't listen to them. I mean, first of all, I do think she's the leader of the planet. She should be the leader of the planet. But we don't. You think we're not going to listen? It'll be like, let's send our brightest, Elon Musk and Xi Jinping. Great. And we're like, fuck. Like, hey, what's up? Do you have does woke exist on your planet? Because I just feel like, are there, do people like cancel each other on your planet if your like third
Yeah.
tip isn't perfect or whatnot?
Have you heard of Grimes? I want to go somewhere where no one's heard of Grimes.
Oh God, yeah, that's who we would send. It'd be fucking Bezos or like Richard Branson. Can you imagine the worst? Like, I don't know why because he would enjoy it too much. You know what I mean? Hey, how's it going?
Have I? Actually, this is what I should have bitched about. But
what? No, we gotta move on.
I have a brief aside, which is that there's been this phenomenon of like the weird historic like biopics of like entrepreneurs inventing beloved brands. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nike Air, Cheetos, Chippendales, Beanie Babies, Tetris, on and on. Like just like a weird glut of that genre of film or television show about like some entrepreneur who took a risk and invented some crazy thing. And it's weird to me that it's all happening at once. And my theory is that like people like Elon Musk and Bezos, it's like that sort of the like, unlike in the 90s, people are so disillusioned with capitalism and capitalists that like it's about rehabilitating the heroic like capitalist.
Oh, I love that.
In popular culture.
That's very true. Of course. But also, like, I don't know. It's also just lazy IP. Like, heaven forbid we just do a story, like a different story. It's like, no, yeah, we got to know how micro machines were created. Remember they were good? What about Pogs? The inventor of the Pog.
Right. Or like, like there was a script that I worked on once. Like I was brought in on like a round of rewrites. It never got made, but it was about like dueling ice cream trucks, like fighting for turf.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It's like
that's a perfectly fine movie.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Sorry, everybody.
No. I'm sorry for this next story. But looks like Florida has found a solution to the hole in its educational system created by Ron DeSantis and every other goon who runs things over there. And the fact that, library books have been taken out of the libraries and entire chapters of American history rewritten, like slavery. What? It was actually good for a lot of slaves. And now they're enlisting the help of PragerU, which is a fake online education channel by Dennis Prager, who, again, it just like, if you've ever seen like I've never pleasured a woman and I've never gotten high in my life, that face, like he has that face. He definitely has somebody in his basement. Like, I'm not like, I don't know that, but I know that. Dennis Prager started PragerU, and they've done some takedowns of my videos, like, or attempted takedowns of like Newsbroke videos and whatnot, because they're all against leftism and socialism. Anyway, now Florida Education Department apparently has approved PragerU as a vendor for their like elementary school material, educational material. Usually PragerU targets like older, angsty 14, 15, 16-year-olds or like whatever, grown-ass dudes. Now they're targeting kids, and here we are. I'm just going to play a little bit of one episode of two kids who go on different historic adventures. And this time they're meeting Booker T. Washington. And Booker T. Washington is telling them there is nothing wrong. Well, that they should not feel bad about slavery. Here is Booker T. Washington. First of all, this show sucks. It is a lot of talking. It's just like, doc, 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 doc. I like Ron DeSantis. Anyway, take a look.
I hate that our country had slavery. Mr. Washington, sometimes do you wish you could have lived somewhere else? Like a different country?
That's a great question. And I hate slavery too, but it's been a reality everywhere in the world. And even now in 1910, it's still happening in other countries. Despite our nation not always living up to our declaration that all men are created equal, I am still so proud and thankful to be an American.
Even though you were a slave?
Exactly, because I was, and not anymore. America was one of the first places on earth to outlaw slavery, and hundreds of thousands of men gave their lives in a war that resulted in my freedom. So yes, I am proud and thankful.
Oh, yeah.
Francesca, you know what
We
makes
were one
America...
of the first to abolish. God, poor. I feel so bad for his family.
You know what makes America such a special place is that we did slavery so that we could be heroic by ending slavery.
Yes. Why did no
That's
one
why
talk
we're
about
so
that?
special. You have to do horrible things so that then you can redeem yourself later.
Exactly. I hit you so that when I don't hit you, I'm a fucking hero.
Yeah.
So that's him being like, no, actually, because we abolished slavery, this country's amazing. And then here he is telling this this Karen in training, don't worry about what happened before. You don't worry your pretty little head about it. You just go pledge to some sorority.
We're really sorry that you have to deal with segregation and racism.
Your sympathy is nice, Layla, but know that you have nothing to be sorry about. You and Leo have done nothing wrong and have indeed been quite respectful. Future generations are never responsible for the sins of the past.
Okay, I'll keep doing my best to treat everyone well and won't feel guilty about historical stuff.
Good, you shouldn't.
Okay, I'll just like try or whatever. Like, I'll be nice or whatever. Like, I'm sorry you had discrimination, but I'll just keep drinking my rosé. Okay. I love this. Oh my God.
And that's how you make a Lauren Boebert.
That is exactly how you make. There's nothing you could do. No, don't you worry your pretty little head. There's nothing worse than a white girl being worried. That's terrible. Yeah, so there he is explaining that, yeah, no, kids do not, or nobody bears responsibility for historical wrongs. Here's what I will say. Nato, when you were learning about slavery in school, did you go home and were like, I can't believe I did that? Did you take it on personally?
Yeah, no. And not only that, I was like, man, this is really messed up. No, like, you know, this shouldn't have happened, and we should correct the injustices. And I have kids. My kids are 15. They know about all this shit, and they like are aware and feel a responsibility to make the world better, but they don't feel bad about themselves about it.
Right.
They're just like, yeah.
And learning about it hasn't made them feel more guilty, because I feel like, I mean, this is the whole thing about the right when it comes to like education and like, is that they've spent all the time being like, we got to be alpha. You got to be tough. Yeah. Kids need to toughen up. You're so soft. You need a safe space. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. You can't hear about slavery because maybe you think it's your fault, even though you totally don't. And who the fuck teaches about like American slavery and blamed you? Although I'd really like to see that. I would definitely like to be like, we're gonna dig into your past, Nato Green. Did one of your ancestors own slaves?
Well, you're right. I mean,
Layla, you've benefited personally. Here's how.
Right. I mean, but there's also, it's like, it's not just the historic wrongs, but it's like, I don't know about you, Francesca. From time to time, I enjoy a banana.
Oh, totally.
And I'm aware on an intellectual level that there's a direct line of violence from my 69-cent banana and people being murdered in Honduras.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like. So even though my family came to the United States after slavery was over, and so we're not directly implicated in the slave trade, like we are directly benefiting from the continued violence and exploitation of people of color around the world. I don't feel personally guilty about it, but I do feel some sense of responsibility about it. Like,
but that's the whole thing,
capable of holding those complex thoughts as human beings.
Absolutely. But no, it is part of, I mean, speaking of grooming, this is perfect grooming of young right-wing, fairly racist minds, it's basically like, yeah, all that is in the past, and any troubles that African Americans face today, it's their own doing. In fact, Booker T. Washington, cartoon Booker T. Washington, like whitewashed Booker T. Washington goes on to basically be like, you know, individual responsibility is number one, and there's nothing you can do about it. And effectively, systemic oppression and racism is not a real thing. Legacies and histories of slavery, the way they still, yes, it's like if people are willing to accept Jim Crow, then aren't you willing to accept like systemic racism that continues today? Redlining, I don't know, like fucking the criminal, the prison industrial complex and criminalization of black people. Like, can you accept any of those things? No. That's totally different. Police, no idea where they came from.
And I mean, and frankly, you know, like there is a direct, there's also like a clear linkage to me of like, you know, like earlier we were talking about Portland. Portland is a Democratic bastion, but nevertheless, you know, in Democratic cities like San Francisco and Portland, where we're actively criminalizing homeless people and people with drug addiction and camping, you know, in the name of so that white people don't have to feel uncomfortable, like it's still built on the same, you know, squishy ideology and worldview as this Prager stuff. I think we should have a free market ideas. I think it'd be fun to show Florida school children the PragerU videos and Drag Queen Story Hour and be like, all right, kids, pick. Which one do you like better?
Oh, God. See, that's the thing. That's why they have to outlaw drag those, because they know they can't compete. They're like, let's pick the most fabulous thing that makes us feel horribly unworthy because we're so sad, boring, and repressed. And that's drag. Because this is, I'm telling you, it's not well done. It's just back and forth. Like, did you know that Dennis Prager has an 8-inch penis? No, I didn't. Oh, amazing. Like, it's just like them talking about like how great the right wing is. And how like it's just nothing but talky. It's boring. Dance, okay? Do something. Put on a fucking beat and a fit and other things. This is me trying to sound cool. But yeah, there you have it. I'm sorry, Florida kids. Dude, I mean, homeschooling, right? Is that the answer here? But I think they will resist against this. I mean, I don't know if your kids, Nato, were shown this in school. I think they'd probably have there'd be a lot of hands raised afterwards.
Yeah, what it's making me think of, I think when my kids were in, I can't remember if it was 3rd grade or 5th grade, they were in a school, it was a Spanish immersion school, it was 80% Spanish-speaking families, and they had to debate pro or con on Trump's immigration policy.
Oof.
So they had to stage debate, and it was interesting to see them like do the pro-Trump side of the debate. But, you know, then like it's very different when you're just like, there's a bunch of immigrants there and some of them don't have papers, and that's part of your community. And you're like, you know, oh, these scary
like,
immigrants
that's my
or whatever.
Friend. Yeah.
You mean Felipe? Like, you know, that guy?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, like ultimately, and you've viewed, you know, county by county, going back to Trump, like county by county analysis around Trump voters were the people who lived in the least proximity to brown people, and especially immigrants, were the ones who were the farthest right. Like the people who were afraid of taco trucks on every corner were the ones who more likely voted for Trump. People who had taco trucks on a corner were like, that's tight. I love it. Like, I love my immigrant neighbors. This is great. Small business owners, hard workers, amazing. Like, so good food, great. Bring it on. And that holds true. It's just the fear of the unknown and, you know, the same kind of authoritarian, xenophobic bullshit that we've seen. But here we go. Prager, please make a video where you dismantle socialism using Francesca Fiorentini's News Broke videos circa 2017, because that'd be really, really fun. And just, you know, introduce @FrannyFio to all of the kids in Florida. And I'll be posting those videos, even though they're old, on TikTok. Yay. let's get into our final segment. Nato, did you know the rich are trying to escape the mess that they've created on Earth?
I've heard about this.
Yeah. And I don't know if they're going to get away on the little tic tacs. I don't know if they're going to hitch a ride with the aliens, but it seems like they're trying to. Of course, Elon's probably going to come out and be like, I have actually a self-driving tic tac that does not require any non-human biologics to ride it. But there's a few stories that have come to our attention lately on this show, and we have to decide, Nato, as obviously revolutionaries who want to overthrow the entire system, where we want the rich to hide. So this is They Better Hide. Okay, so one of these is something.
Shout out Marjorie Taylor Greene in the audience.
Shout out MTG. What up, girl? You better hide. Oh God, can you imagine riding out the apocalypse with Marjorie? But I mean, let's be real. She does CrossFit and tantric sex, so I feel like it might be more interesting. And I can't believe I said that. But
does she do tantric sex?
She cheated on her husband with a tantric sex guru. That's all we can stomach at this hour of lunch. Wow. So Douglas Rushkoff, I believe his name is, wrote this entire book called The Survival of the Richest. And I did this for a bonus bish, but there are underground bunkers that the rich are investing in. One of the companies is called Vivos, and it is converting Cold War munition storage facilities and missile silos into basically little, he calls them Club Med resorts that offer private suites for individuals or families, larger common areas with pools, games, movies, and dining. Ultra elite shelters, another one called the Oppidum in the Czech Republic, claim to cater to the billionaire class and pay more attention to the long-term psychological health of residents. They provide the imitation of natural light, such as a pool with a simulated sunlit garden area, a wine vault, and other amenities to make the wealthy feel at home. So we've got bunkers. That's happening. Now, I don't know if you saw this. Sam Bankman-Fried and his brother actually tried to buy an island as a way to avoid, I guess, any accountability for them, making $800 billion disappear. So Sam Bankman-Fried and his brother tried to buy the island nation of Nauru with FTX funds, and they wanted to build a bunker there. So there's an island. The lawsuit. So there's all this discovery happening with this lawsuit against him. They found there was plans to purchase Nauru, a tiny nation in Micronesia. The goal, according to the memo, would be to build a bunker that could be used in the event that 50% to 99.99% of the people die, with the aim of ensuring that most EAs or effective altruists can survive, as well as to develop sensible regulation around human genetic enhancement and build a lab there. Probably there are other things it's useful to do with a sovereign country too, the memo also notes. So anyway, Micronesia, just some low-lying islands in the middle of a climate chaos. Tight.
Sure. Sounds smart. Trying to build Atlantis. Cool.
Yeah. But finally, we have our third choice of, I don't know, where you think they should hide, which is Venus. Now, hear me out, Nato. I know what you're thinking. What? Venus? I thought it was Mars. No, because guess what?
Right. Tell me about it.
The co-founder of OceanGate, you might have heard of their little shipwreck from the submersible, where some 5 billionaires imploded. So that co-founder now wants to send 1,000 people to a floating colony on Venus by 2050 and says we shouldn't stop pushing the limits of innovation. His name is Sonline, and he hasn't let the recent events of the submersible dampen his ambition and claims humanity needs to continue pushing the limits of innovation. So they wanted to create crewed submersibles that could be chartered to go to the bottom of the sea, but the technologies found along the way to this goal would likely be useful to get humans to space. So, of course, Elon Musk wanted to do SpaceX. Now, OceanGate wants to do Venus. Venus, however, is the warmest planet on the solar system. Its atmosphere is chock full of carbon dioxide. Surface temperatures could melt lead, and sulfuric acid rains down from the clouds. Its atmospheric pressure is crushing more than 90 times that of Earth. But he says it's not as crazy as it seems. Quote, I think it is less aspirational than putting 1 million people on the Martian surface by 2050. In other words, Elon's stupid. Oh yeah? Pluto, bitch. What about Planet X? Was that a planet or not? We're going to there.
Let me channel my inner Ron Perlman.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to go to Venus, motherfucker.
You coming around here talking about Venus? We'll get you to Venus. We know where you fucking live. Okay, so we've got islands, underwater, in a bunker, in a missile silo, and Venus. There's a lot of choices here, but I don't know, Nato. What I think, here's my opinion about this. I think they should just go. Just pick one and all go. But there has to be a pact. Like they all have to go.
Like all the billionaires.
All the billionaires have to go.
Right.
And I don't, because they're vying, like they're all trying to also sell units and apartments on their particular escape, in their particular escape pod. They're never going to all fucking agree because they still have to make money somehow.
They're all trying to go down grifting.
Exactly.
To, like grift each other in the final hours.
Can you imagine the last people on Earth are just going to be nonstop grifters? Like there's like 6 of them. They're like, so if you actually pay $6 a month for a second tier on my Substack, I'll let you know how we can find more oxygen in this bunker here.
Right. I've invented an Airbnb for sex where like we can put to have a relationship where like you're the person that I lease a partnership from, and I'll signify that by putting a ring on your finger. So I'm reinventing marriage, but I'm
utterly disrupting marriage.
I'm calling it the sharing economy.
First of all, Sam Bankman-Fried and all those FTX like freaks, they were freaks, if you know what I'm saying. They apparently were very like they all did group sex, which might be the most endearing thing about them. But that was what they were doing in addition to like swindling politicians out of their money. Okay.
Serious question. Very important. Since you
or donating to them. Yes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene being into tantric sex.
Oh, God.
And now SBF being freaky deaky.
Yeah.
So what if... So you imagine the SBF is bad at sex, but what if he's like a horrible person, but also like the all-time goat of fucking would you hit?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
if you were Sam Bankman-Fried's hall pass,
no,
and he was the greatest at sex of all time.
No, because like that you hit that he's or what if MTG is the best at sex there is? Would you hit? I think it's no.
I don't know. I mean, I think you kind of want to. Don't you think you'd be like, I would like to know what it's like to hit the best of all time?
It depends. Like if I'm on the island nation and we're all running out of oxygen, obviously I hope all of the billionaires in the submersible, RIP, but I hope they all got it on, including the sun. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's incest, but hey, we got no time. I'm going to go with no, but if Bankman-Fried were either a bit more attractive or actually rich, I might say yes.
Okay. Interesting.
But I know people who have like they had the best sex of their lives with with fives. Best sex of your life with a 5.
What about a Cape Cod 8?
Or Cape Cod 8. That is the name of this episode, is Cape Cod 8. I don't know, Nato. You've got a lot of material about billionaires and getting rid of them. Are they getting rid of themselves as we wrap up this segment?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, it's like you see life expectancy and birth rates declining and suicide rising and overdoses among white people. Like the people complaining about the white genocide are sort of doing more of lightweight white suicide, and the billionaires are like, I've been, trying to figure out like how do we have a class war to end billionaires, and then they're like, oh, you're just going to see yourselves out? Well, fine, fuck off then. Just rapture yourselves to Venus and get on with you.
I'm telling you though, when Blue Origin, completely goes up in flames, or another one of these SpaceX things, don't ask me to cry. Don't ask me to worry about their fucking families. No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't care.
Do a GoFundMe for one of their for what's his name, Sprong lines, the Venus guy, for his funeral expenses when his shit blows up. I'm gonna say I'm on the side of send them to Venus, just because I imagine that if they do the bunker thing and then per my joke, then things are cool after that.
Yes. Which I've quoted multiple times.
Pretty quickly, they'll be like, "Hey, you guys, we figured out how to get out of the bunker, and we kind of want to hang out again. What's up, everybody?" I just think it'll be easier for them to,
I think in order to do that, we need to create a character who's sort of the ultimate grifter, and they need to have some kind of hypersleep situation. I did just see not too long ago, Idiocracy. So we've got to convince them. We've got it's got to be an RFK anti-vax type situation, that kind of celeb who's no, this is straight up. It'll put you into sleep for 100 years. Everything's going to shit on this earth anyway. And when you wake up, we will have done the research to make Venus inhabitable, except it's just fentanyl.
Right.
Oops. On that note, people, don't cancel me. I'm a respectable journalist. Hire me. Yeah. Nato Green is a union organizer and a dad and a comedian, and you should watch him wherever he is, as well as follow him on all the socials. Nato?
Yeah, Mr. Nato Green on Instagram, and Nato Green on some other stuff. Mr. Nato Green on Instagram and Threads, apparently. I guess we're doing that now.
Are you on TikTok yet? You were a little bit on TikTok, yeah?
My shit is on TikTok, but I don't understand how to use it, quite frankly.
Neither do I.
But
I'm on it more and more.
But critically, I have 2 albums out, and this Friday is...
I'm so sorry. I just you started plugging yourself too hard, and I was like, I'm really bored. Start that again.
This Friday is Bandcamp Friday, where if you buy my albums on Bandcamp, then they waive their share of the thing, and I get most of the money.
Woohoo! Everybody, do that. Bandcamp, the Whiteness album, and the party?
Nato Green Party, yeah.
Nato, take very good care. Come back very soon, hopefully within the next few weeks. Missed that guy. And thank you guys for sticking around, for being here, for all your support, your love, your chats, your super chats. I'm going to read some of them. Sparrow's Artistry says, happy summertime, Francesca. Glad you had a weekend. I did have a weekend. Thank you for your super chat. Mia, welcome to membership on YouTube. Non-Human Humanist, thank you for your super chat. Says, hi, Earth people. Has anyone seen my vehicle, round, shiny fly thingy? I must have lost it near a place called Area 51. Honest Finder gets a ride. Oh, I love it. Willie Gus on Twitch. Portland recently refused to fund smoking supplies. It's not pursuing harm reduction. Exactly. So it's just decriminalization. And I think, and even the addiction treatment services apparently were slow to roll out. But doing this piecemeal, I think, is a problem. And also attempting to do it in one city without the federal government stepping in. Yeah, I think it's really difficult. I think it is difficult. And I'm not saying that it's not on the voters. It's not on Measure 110. But I do think that throwing in the towel and sort of resorting back to criminalization is the opposite direction of where we need to go. And Dory B on Twitch reminding us, making it harder for pain patients to access medications also increases desperation and seeking out illicit options. 100%. I mean, we talked about the Adderall shortage earlier in this year. Adderall, my husband finally got back on Adderall. Ooh, speaking of my husband, wait, don't go anywhere, you guys. I have an announcement to make. I don't have a graphic for this, but Matt Lieb and I are going to be in San Francisco at the Punchline on October 17th. That's a Tuesday. Mark your calendars. We have tickets for sale in the bio right now. In in the description of this stream right now. So we're gonna co-headline. So come out, see us do stand-up, have fun. It's a Tuesday night. Get your asses there. There are tickets again on sale ahora mismo. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys there in October. We're gonna bring the whole family. That means the baby and the cat. No, not the cat, probably. But it'll be a really fun night. So get tickets whenever you can. And thank you for reminding me of Matt. And then I'm gonna try Joel Isaiah Lacchio. Joel Isaiah Lacchio says there's a rainbow of humans that have existed here on Earth, not to mention the vast majority of pyramids everywhere. Promotes the Earth is a laboratory theory. Okay. I mean, I think Egyptians and their enslaved people built the pyramids, but Stonehenge? I'll give you Stonehenge. Daniel Lee, what's up? How are you? Trump may win in a prison cell. Indeed. Hippie Ninja, how does rape not get you canceled? It doesn't. It makes you more famous with MAGA. Soul Life says, I LARP as a right-winger on right-wing media. They were having an existential crisis because they love RFK, but he's a Dem. They ain't voting for Biden. I think I know how to read that comment, but thank you. It's socialism or barbarism on Twitch. The economic news is good, but doesn't quite feel that way. Agreed. Doesn't feel like we are much better off, especially I'm thinking about the number of women who've left the workforce after the pandemic. Gary Cooper, WAP, weird alien pilots. I like it. Mitchell Evans on YouTube, the WAP thing is about private corps holding the crafts that have been recovered are attempting back engineering to make money. Ooh, I like it as analysis. And that could be very true. Of course they're going to try and make money. Bad Lefty, thank you for being a member, says, I want a Greta meeting the alien. But hello? Have all of the rich people on your planet absorbed all the resources? Do you care for the forests, or do you cut them down? My guess is you do not cut them down. Anyway, I like your third nipple. Hef, thank you for the super chat. The aliens will only talk to Carrot Top. Oh, God. Carrot Top seems like he's been a little, red pilled, too. Or maybe that's just because he is red, and I don't know. Terrence Trumbo, even England abolished slavery before us. Yeah. Sharpie Diesel, Ocean Gate is crushing it. Oh, literally. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being patrons. Thank you for being supporters. Thank you to the new patrons. At $10 or more gets you a shout out, and all the people who've upped their pledge with the fart song. Thank you to Dan for becoming a patron at $10 or more. You're amazing. Thank you to Liliana Hansen. Thank you for upping your pledge. You're now the innermost cabal of the Bitchuation room. And my God, it means a whole hell of a lot. So thank you. That fart is for you. We don't have any big tippers, but Sparrow's Artistry cheering 100 bits. Thank you so much. Marshall Ghetto, what's up? Thanks for gifting 2 subs out to Roller Dragon and Rebel Phoenix. Thank you to Socialism or Barbarism for giving out 10 community subs. Holy shit. Thank you. Thank you again, Sparrow's Artistry, for your cheers. The Surfs rated us. Fuck yeah. And thank you, Marshall Ghetto, for cheering. Says, ooh, finally available for this time slot. Hello there, fellow bees. And Robot Monkey Cat, which is a great name, resubscribe with Prime. Thanks so much. And thank y'all. I will see you guys on Friday. We are doing a bonus this Friday. Don't you fret. I will be there. All the fun stories. God, there were so many good stories last week, and I'm sad we couldn't do it. But again, patreon.com/Bitchuation room to get access to all that. Follow us on all the socials also. TikTok and Instagram, we've got new handles, Bitchuation Room on both of those. Twitter is for the birds. I guess literally now. But Bitchuation Pod over there. And thank you to Paige Omek, our producer. Thank you to Maximilian Inhofe. And thank you to Andy Vasoyan, our editor. I'll see you on Friday. And remember, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it. be about it. Bye.